Fellow photographers, there are some things that we need to stop concerning ourselves with, and I have been guilty of all of these, so don't think it's just me ranting at you. But let me help you through the woods. Let me get you through this dark patch. These things here you are wasting your time on. Complete, utter waste of time and energy, apart from a few exceptions, which we'll get to at the end. Now, because of what I shoot, I'm often getting my camera ready. I'm getting 100 ISO, 125th of a second, f16, and the screaming comments come in. I've answered them in the comment section a few times, but I thought I would make a video on this first one. This is point one of these, and it's chromatic aberrations. What are chromatic aberrations? Well, at a really nerdy level, it's where the light can't quite all come in the same directions and focus on the center, right? To get a bit of softness. Lenses are soft wide open, they get sharper and sharper and sharper, and then as you stop down even further, they get softer and softer and softer. This can be an issue for photographers. They seem to get angry about it, but let me promise you this. I have shot the biggest campaigns with the biggest amounts of chromatic aberrations on them, and nobody cares apart from the photographers, and there's some good reasons for this. If you need f16, or f18 or f22, then chromatic aberrations be damned. You don't have another choice. You can't shoot at f8 because it's a sweet spot. When the client goes, get from here to here in focus, and it requires f16, it requires f16. We'll get to when you don't need to do this and when you can get the sharpest image at the end, but for now, that is just the way it is. Yes, it happens. Some lenses do it more than others. I personally have lenses which don't do it very much at all, but that's an expensive pursuit. For the majority of things, that doesn't matter. In the same way that lens sharpness doesn't matter, image sharpness doesn't matter, as long as you've spent at least 400 quid on a lens like this, it's sharp enough for the biggest campaign in the world. And I think we all need to let that set in a little bit. This here, the Sigma 24105, sharp enough for the biggest campaigns in the world. And I know because I've used it. Only recently, it's a new lens to me, but it's good enough. And the reason I bought this one was because I knew of another very big photographer who just used it on a really big campaign. And they said, absolutely good enough. And along these lines is color fringing. Now, again, this is something people go, oh, but if you shoot the lens wide open, you'll get some color fringing. So 2 stop down, chromatic aberrations, 2 wide open. It's like Goldilocks and the 3 Bears with aperture. Yes, you do. There's a little colour pipette thing you can click on it and it disappears. And yes, it leaves a bit of a fringy line, but if somebody's looking at the bit you've removed the purple or green fringing on in the outer focus area of an image, the thing you've put in focus is not interesting enough. I'm very sorry, but your photo sucks. By the time something like this matters, it shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. Because your photo sucks. If you've got a great photograph, it can have all the chromatic aberrations, fringing, lack of sharpness in the world. It is still a great photograph. The only people who want sharp images are gear reviewers. Now, there are some other issues in lenses. Now, it's all very lens related here. Pin cushioning, distortion, both things that are fixable in post with a high resolution camera, which all cameras are. Vignetting, so it gets dark around the sides. Sometimes you add a vignette, but wide lenses, they vignette. Actually, all lenses vignette, not even just wide ones. Lenses vignette, you can fix it in post. Better lenses vignette less, sometimes, than not so good lenses. These are all things that are fixable in post. If you are a professional photographer charging less than £2,500 a day, or what, $4,500 a day, none of these things should concern you. And here's who it should concern and when it concerns them and why it concerns them. If you're charging £120,000 a day, which is what, $180,000 a day, you probably want to make sure your image quality is as good as possible, but not at the expense of usability. For example, some of the best lenses in the world and best cameras in the world are a nightmare to use. If I want to shoot at f8 on a 16-bit sensor, I need to use a machine like this one here. It takes ages to focus. If we have the time on set, we use it. But often, we use this. We don't have the time. We haven't got time to focus that big camera. We get the 24-105 out, probably manual focus it because I don't really trust Sigma autofocus. And yes, the focus ring's rubbish, but we get it out, we shoot the shot, and we get it done. Getting the shot is better than technical perfection. I have never seen, and this is really important to listen to, I have never seen an image that is great because it's technically perfect. I've also never seen a great image that is technically perfect. Technical perfection and great images do not live alongside each other. They're two different pursuits. If you work in a museum and you are documenting artifacts, you've got the phase one on the stand thing, there's a special name for it, and you've got that special broncolor light dome thing. If you're doing that, you need no chromatic aberrations, no color fringing, no pin cushioning, no distortion. It must be perfect because you are documenting an item. If you're photographing an ad campaign, a creative ad campaign, a portrait, a wedding, anything else, image quality does not matter. Stop wasting your time on forums, and I know because I've done this, reading about which lens is sharper, which lens has better micro contrast. There is nothing more boring at a party than some dude talking about micro contrast. And I know because I was that dude, and somebody less than politely let me know. The worst conversation I've ever had with a photographer was talking about milliamps in batteries. It is really boring. And yes, that photographer, not very successful. The only people who concern themselves with this are unsuccessful photographers. And here's why. If you have time to concern yourself with this, you're not spending that time correctly on the creative pursuit of photography. If you have time to worry about chromatic aberrations, unless you're some sort of genius with the mental capacity of like who knows what, which probably proves that I'm not, you don't have time for that. I don't have time to worry about chromatic aberrations, colour fringing, vignetting, pin cushioning, micro contrast, lens coatings, or whatever it may be. I don't have time to do that because my time is spent taking a good photograph. They are two solely different purposes. If you're looking at this stuff, go and make lenses, go and design a lens. If you want to take good photographs, go and take good photographs. The difference between the best and worst lens on a Canon camera system is minuscule until you start looking at things that don't matter. It's like audiophiles who start talking about the different cables they're using to connect their speakers. I can't hear the difference. I'm sure an audiophile can. I cannot. Unless you're talking to another nerdy photographer, they can't see chromatic aberrations, mate. So best to put that away and go and focus on the creative pursuit and stop wasting your time. I hope this video saved somebody a lot of time and stress and allowed them to move forward in what photography really is. See you soon. Bye-bye.